and how effectively the population can take control or retake control of government. For the last, I would say, 50 years, government has been running as a runaway corporate for-profit enterprise, with the public being the food for that enterprise. The key factor is for government to accomplish the growth and do what they did, they had to keep the public masterfully entertained, effectively off in la-la land. The growth factor in government, it's very easy to see if you ask yourself very basic questions. In other words, what was the budget of our city, county, state, school district 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, to see the increase in the take. And I've done this over and over again, and the average in the last 25 years has been an increase of 15 to 1. The population's income maybe doubled. Government's income, has been by about a factor of 15 to 1. It's unacceptable. We're masterfully entertained off in the la-la land in right field as the government conducts business as usual in left field. And what makes it worse, the majority of government now is run by attorneys. Most of the elected senators, congressmen, governors, they're all attorneys. Most people are voting, they don't even realize they're voting for an attorney. And by the way, no smoking in the theater. But
picture that.
So, for government to do this, to be able to grow and take it all over by investment right under the public's nose, they did through a masterful corporate tactic. In 1946, government started going under the annual financial reporting accounting structure, just like Apple, IBM, AT&T, Microsoft. And as that grew, they were able to perform a selectively created budget report, which showed primarily where tax income was brought in and tax income was expended. And the population, got it in their mind that government was their budget report. They would go over the budget reports with a fine-tooth comb. Yeah, they had this amount of money allocated. Yeah, they spent $5 million more. What are they, a bunch of idiots? As at the same time, in reality, government was promoting to the population the selectively created budget report and holding back their annual finance report. And to be very clear on what an annual finance report is, it's the statement of net worth. For example, yourself as a individual, you had a budget report for your house, your expenditures for the year, and your statement of net worth. There's a big difference between the two. So with the government constantly promoting budget reports, and holding back their annual finance reports, it gave them the ability to expand within the annual finance reports ownership, investment ownership, cash wealth, expansion of enterprise operations that were generating hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars a year. And the public was sitting there, it's kind of like the Catholic Church. The Bible for the Catholic Church is what the annual finance report is for government. Could you imagine being a Christian all of your lifetime and the Catholic Church never mentioned the Bible? And say, for example, I came up to you and I said, have you read the Bible? And you replied back, Bible? What's that? You would no, because the Catholic Church never mentioned it. But, the Catholic Church didn't have a reason to hold back the Bible, so they promoted it and generated revenue for them. Contributions. The government had a motive to hold back the annual financial report, and it is their holy grail of accounting. But in the equivalent nature of things, it's identical as if the Catholic Church had held back, their Bible. So, as the growth took place, within the annual financial reporting accounting structure come 1978, 77, it became the standard for all local governments, cities, counties, states, school districts, and so forth. Pension funds put out a CAFR, the enterprise operations put out a CAFR. You can have sometimes a county putting out a CAFR, they put out an annual financial statement, but you'll have the school district in the county putting out a comprehensive annual financial report. So the bottom line is the public was held close to the key financial structure of government as it grew and expanded. They didn't have an idea, they didn't have a clue. And I just used the expression, the public was kept off in la-la land. As the boys continued business as usual, with not a peep, not a mention, not a word. And even to this date, the syndicated media controlled education, both political parties, not a peep, not a mention, not a word of the comprehensive annual financial report. And most of them, when you mention it, they act like, the deer in the headlights syndrome.
Right.
And what's that? Does that have something to do with government? And they've been reading them for 20 years.
Yeah.
It's the silence is golden rule due to the money involved, period. Nothing less, nothing more. But the key factor is the growth, the expansion of the take, and the takeover within the investment arena. One thing I've done very, proficiently was add up collective totals, local governments' investment totals combined with federal government's investment totals, and collectively, government took it all over by investment. They own the majority of the Fortune 500 companies, principal stock ownership collectively. The number one investor with the insurance companies, and we're talking, trillions of dollars involved. The bank, if you look at their primary investors with the banks, especially in their institutional investment section of the banks, government. The brokerage houses, same thing. So an example like where you had the 2008 bubble burst, and all of a sudden a few trillion were used here and there to bail out the banks. They weren't bailing out the banks. Government was the number one investor of the banks. They were making sure they stayed in the black and take a substantial loss. The one profits that were made by the bank to effectively screwed everybody else were their investors. The investors with the banks, government. So I put out on quite a few email posts that I've sent, a little bottom line, which, I would say, how do the banks, brokerage houses, insurance companies get the full cooperation of government? Well, it's very simple. They give government the largest percentage of the take. The government may get 75%, the banks get 25%. And this way, it's counterproductive for governments to rule against the banks, the brokerage houses, or to create oversight that would restrict, their game playing, which makes substantial profits. Nothing complicated. And, as far as our conditioning, on a key factor of the comprehensive annual financial report, not to mention the school districts. I've gotten calls from hundreds of teachers, and said to their class, here's our school district's comprehensive annual financial report, and here's our school district's budget report. Let's see if we can spot the differences. They find walking paper so damn fast they wouldn't know what hit them, due to the money involved. The syndicated news reporter who came out and did a major feature article, he'd find himself on the street. A candidate running for office. When I first started national disclosure, there was a guy by the name of Rich Smith who was running for governor of Oregon. He was already on the Republican ticket. He put up the CAFR on his website, sent out email posts, he was dropped by the Republican Party like a hot potato, never to be seen of again. There was another girl by the name of Reb Sutherland out of South Carolina. She ran for Senate, she ran for governor, and she brought up the comprehensive annual financial report. The syndicated media, who's 100% in bed with government, portrayed her as if she riding a broomstick on the front page of the paper when she was running for governor. She did get 4% of the vote.
She still.
So, the bottom line is you're up against a corporate syndicate that's making trillions of dollars, who's sitting on hundreds of trillions of dollars, and that all, it hinges on keeping the public distracted, not looking at the fundamental basics. But when you start looking at the fundamental basics on the city level, county level, state level, school district level, they got a problem. You're not, entertained off in right field. You're now stepping into left field. And they'll try every tactic possible to bounce you back into right field due to the money involved. So, it'll be important when you look at any annual financial report. Look at a simple exercise with a school district. It's a very basic, fundamental thing. People don't do it though. Look at the school district's budget. Look at the total number of children in the school district, kindergarten through 12th grade, and then divide the budget by the number of students to get the average cost per student. I did that with a school district up in upstate New York. They had about $4 million as their budget for the year, and a very small population of students. It came out to $32,000 per student. Now, I put out a little email post on that with a link to the school district's CAFR, and my bottom line note was, being that they're charging $32,000 per student, should it be required that they gold plate them each year?
Okay. Walter, quick question. Is that dollar figure, is that per year per student, or is that for...
Per year. No, around here it's $6,400, $6,300. Yeah, low side, $3,600, high side, $8,000.
Wow.
And, we'll do that exercise with Yelm School District number 2, which I'm sure everybody else now in the county will do, after they realize what the cost is per student. I heard there was a big push for a tax increase for the school district.
Yes, that's right, levy, yes.
Everyone, period, should have done that over the last couple of years. And from what I haven't done it yet myself, but from what I've seen of the school district's budget, it's a very small, 5,400 students, kindergarten through 12, I think it is. And when we point out the school district's budget, you can quick do the math. They're getting paid substantially a good dollar at this point in time. And the school district was on quite a few funds. And well in excess of their debt.
Okay.
So, do they need the money? No. Could they use the money? Yes. Would they be happy if they gave themselves all a raise? Yes.
Yes.
But in any school district around the country, it should be required, period, that if that school district wants some more money, they better be getting the students to excel. I mean, very easy to determine whether test scores have gone up or down, the reality of, the proficiency of the students when they graduate. The document I'm going to pull up, which shows the fund balances for different state agencies, the University of Washington and Washington State University in the top 5. But when you see that Washington State University is sitting on $5.4 billion in investment funds, you have to ask yourself the question: why are they charging the students?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Their rate of return is greater than all tuitions combined that are being charged for the students.
Wow.
I learned that a long time ago back in New Jersey. The state the university said they were short of budgetary revenue and they wanted to raise tuitions 8%. And that was the largest increase for the year. And I looked at their CAFR, and they had a investment fund. Started about at $8.5 billion. At the end of the year, it generated about $1.8 billion for the year in return. But the investment fund wasn't tied in with their budgetary basis. So not $1 of their $1.8 billion investment return for the year went towards offsetting costs on the budget. So here they're promoting an $8 million, they need an increase of 8% to satisfy their budget, when on the other hand, they generated $1.8 billion. And I asked myself, what's the total cost of all students, tuitions? Was $700 million. And the university generated $1.8 billion.
Oh, wow.
The kid had gone to school for free for the year. Instead, 8% tuition increase. The bottom line is they're operating as a corporate for-profit entity. And, they're not, really out for the public's best interest, or out to control and maintain the public as a productive resource to increase their own, empire building and expansion.
So Walter, then you're talking about the university, the state university, and one of the fellows here works with the local CPA for Thurston County, not with her necessarily, but she does call him and that sort of thing.
Yes.
And that's John, John Pettit here, and who's running for office, hopefully.
Yes. I will.
I hope that's okay to say now, right?
Unofficially, but yes, I will.
So anyway, real quick, so Thurston County, Thurston County versus the state university, state university. If we were to look, and again, I'm hedging here because my numbers capacity is 1 and 1. But did you see within Thurston County, the corporate end of Thurston County, did you see anything real obvious?
They were doing extremely well, financially. And, for Yelm City, one thing that jumped out to the auditor also, you could tell the good old boy structure was in place.
Okay.
They didn't report on $1 million into their, funds that they just for some strange reason, missed. They did not report the revenue generated by the court, which was also a big number.
God, yeah.
And, so, they were trying to, look poorer or have less than they actually did. And, I didn't see the court figures, but, if the court was expanding, fines, fees, levies, and everything else, and we're becoming, you always have to look at whatever agency is making something, what the population base is that they're making it from. If you had one city bringing in $100 million on a specific operation, and another city bringing in $3 million from the same operation, but the first one had a population of 1.5 million, and the one that's bringing in, $3 million had a population of 1,200, or 1,400. You have to do the basics of how much money is being taken from the population. There's, on the state CAFR, I added one extra page in there, which basically gave the demographics on the highway patrol. And they issued, what was it, about 5 figures. It was like 500 some odd thousand citations. and there were 500 and,
Jail time.
below 500 officers that issued 500,000, citations, and then it showed, total number of registered drivers, commercial and, private.
Right.
1 in 7 people in the population, as the average, got a citation.
Got a citation.
That year.
Yeah.
What?
1 in 7.
1,000 citations.
That's an incredible moneymaker then. I mean, it's doing.
Right, but but unless you see the actual numbers, it doesn't register. And it's very important when you look through a comprehensive annual financial report. Look at the scope and size of that operation, how much money they're generating, how many people are they dealing with. Look at the demographics of population, school district, students. There's a plethora of good information in the statistical section and also in the notes sections. The notes to the financial section are very important to read because it'll spell out each and every fund and what it's for, the purpose, maybe how it was created, and you'll see a ledger balance in the combined financial column for this fund. But that's the ledger entry. When you get to the notes to the financial section, you'll get a brief on the fund, what it actually is. The state of Texas, the comptroller returns, the comptroller there, state treasurer Susan Combs, she put out what they call a cash report, which listed every investment fund in Texas on the state level, just state government. And it was like 8,400 funds, all separate,
Wow.
small, and large.
Right.
Like on transportation, there was like about 70 different funds ranging from 600 million up to, 16 billion. Road beautification fund, county access development fund, one after the other. When I took a trip up to Oregon a couple of years ago, to Salem, and somebody kept pushing on me their CAFR, saying, will you take a look at this, Walter, will you take a look at this? They want to increase tax rates fourfold, and, they say they're impoverished and running on pennies. Are they lying to us, or, are they telling the truth? It's county CAFR. And every agency of the county, every operation of the county, they were running on vapors. Okay? Cash poor. Their capital expenditures for the year was $175,000.
Okay, so you're looking at the capital budget.
County, that counts CAFR. No, they're CAFR.
They're capital.
The 175,000 in capital, expenditures for the year is, a couple of potholes, maybe a street sign here and there. It's very little. And I noticed their budget was $21 million for the year, and which is small. And the private sector hit in $7 million of that, contributed by businesses, law firms, and so forth, so the county would meet their $21 million budget. So as I'm going through this, it looks like they're totally cash poor. Okay? I get down to the second to last page, lower left-hand corner, it said county gas tax fund. The state, charged, a tax on gas, and then the county's got an equal distribution, each and every year from the gas tax fund. And it was only, two line items. It said, county gas tax fund, $141 million. Return for $19.6 million. Okay, if I didn't look at that one little corner, I wouldn't have seen this. So what it was doing was sitting on their gas tax fund, letting it compound each and every year, not utilizing it.
Wow.
They were playing totally broke and impoverished, okay, to promote tax increases, okay?
Wow.
And the public would have bid. I mean, if the public looked at their budget report or even their comprehensive annual financial report, it looked like they were cash poor. The reason they were cash poor was they didn't access the largest fund they were sitting on, which had $141 million in it, which generated $19 million for that year, almost equal to what their entire budget was for the year. And they took $7 million from contributors trying to help the county out. I wonder what they would have said after they pitched in a couple $100,000 here and a couple $100,000 here, knowing the county was sitting on $141 million. I don't think they would have been happy.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah.
So, it's important as you look through. I've had so many people say, well, I can't understand. I'm not an accountant. They get the deer in the headlights. They do a comprehensive annual financial report. What's this? It was never mentioned, never repeated, no one discussion, no one talks about it. So, no one knew it existed. But it's statement of net worth. And I tell people, okay, you're drawing a blank on the CAFR. If I told you I had Bill Gates' statement of net worth, would you like to take a look at it? You'd say, sure. And when you got it, you start looking through it, trying to pick out things that Bill Gates owns. Well, look here, he's got $3.2 billion with Deutsche Bank, another $2.8 billion with Credit Suisse. Hey, he's got a horse farm in Wyoming listed here, 1,700 acres. Hey, he's got a laundry chain in India. Jeez. Yeah, because you'd be looking through trying to see what jump. You would not draw a blank. So when you look at your city CAFR, state CAFR, school district CAFR, enterprise CAFR, pension fund CAFR, look at it in the exact same way. Kind of see what jumps out at you and then start saying, when I first started looking at, CAFRs, I looked for big figures, period. The little ones I skipped right over and I said, 293 billion? What's this? You just look, see, and then start to comprehend. And, they're running as corporations. So, keep in mind, if you're looking at Microsoft's or Apple's annual financial report, it'd be just as complicated. And it's not really complicated, it's just a lot of information.
Yes.
They're making a hell of a lot of money. And, on city level, county level, school district level, especially large ones, they're making more money than Midas ever dreamed about in his wildest dream. And the public sits there scratching their head saying, there's something wrong here, I just can't put my finger on it.
Right. Are you there, Walter?
Internet.
I think the video froze up.
Yeah.
We're back.
Okay, I think we're back.
Yeah.
The NSA was coming.
Homeland Security must be,
Yeah.
they're trying to give us trouble here. Let's mess with their bandwidth, okay. But, it boils down to simply the money involved, nothing more, nothing less. And,
Yeah, one of the
the key thing is the money, period. And, when the public is constantly not thinking of the basics and constantly directed away from the basics, it's a big problem, very big problem.
One of the things that's happening in Thurston County is they utilize the system that they do not depreciate certain items. The asset programs here, anything they purchase, for instance, let's use what we call chip seal on the road, it's a maintenance item. They keep adding them on as being assets as opposed to necessarily ever taking them off because the previous years had it. So,
well, that's counterproductive actually to them. When I pull up the Port Authority of Seattle's CAFR, they made a phenomenal profit, like $487 million for the year, net profit. They deducted that down to only $100 million by strictly depreciating current assets.
right.
By about $300 million. The assets were still there. They just depreciated them. So if a Thurston County is not depreciating their assets, that's actually deducted for them because it'll make them look like they're holding more money than they actually are.
Well, I think one of the reasons why they want to appear to be worth more is that they are seeking to continue to gain bonding power to spend more money in the bonds for purchases, such as a new jail they built and other things. So right now we probably are, while we might show an asset level of $600 million, it appears that real assets might be closer to 250 million in actual hard asset.
Right, well, yeah, I mean, I always, capital assets I just dismiss. Whether they be high, low, whatever, I just do not even look at. I always look at the investment aspect, held, and aspect coming in, period. And Thurston County was in good shape on the report I looked at in that regard. But when we get to the report, we can go through a few line items, to validate what they're stating as investment assets and fund assets. Every local government, one thing that people bite hook, line, and sinker on. The local government will promote one thing, saying, well, here's our rainy day fund. Look, we have $5.6 million in case we have a rainy day. But if you go through the CAFR, well, what's this one for $64 million? What's this one for $112 million? What's this one for,
all under rainy
57? But as I mentioned, every city, county, and state, they'll have multiple investment funds for different, different areas. I saw a county, they operated the county dump, and they went to the actuary saying, well, how much are we going to need to reclaim the dump, 20 years from now? County gets out there, well, you're going to need $1.2 billion. So now they established a advanced forward liability fund. They jacked up the collection fees for garbage 3 times fold, saying that a shortfall of budgetary revenue.
Right.
Yeah, they had a shortfall of budgetary revenue because they're funneling 65% of the revenue they're bringing into their advanced forward liability fund. A decade and a half goes by, and they had about to 800 some odd million in the, it's like 867 million in the garbage dump reclamation fund. But then which of course the public didn't have a clue about. But then what they did was they got him to make them an offer saying that he will reclaim the dump to build his new condominium complexes on top of the dump. So they put it to a vote to the public, being public land. Can we give this land, the dump, to this developer who will be totally responsible for reclaiming the dump, and he wants to build condominiums? The public all said yes. Was there any mention regarding their $867 million reclamation fund? No.
Where was this?
That was Missouri, I think. Wait, you don't want us to drop the connection, will you?
No, it'll slow it down. I don't think it'll drop it. But we can connect again. All right, we'll just try, Walter. It is a good one. I've seen it. It is an excellent.
So what was it? Anna?
Hannah.
Hannah.
Representative
Hannah.
H-A.
Yeah, you can throw an org on there also to search on if you want.
Hannah, CAFR, Oregon. It's already slow.
And if you get it up there, there's the other representatives around us. The guy in front of him, you can see him cringing in his chair saying, oh my God, out of silence is golden rule.
All right.
Then the older guy behind him is like, let me take notes on this.
It's the Oregon State House. Hannah, CAFR.
But YouTube, blocked the little views on this video and kind of limited it on its searching.
Yeah, see it. Yep. H-A-N-S-A.
Get a Representative Hannah and CAFR heads.
Oh, you meant Indiana?
Hanna.
Oh, yeah.
And could answer questions on vacation.
Oh.
2 weeks right now. Yeah, that was and then
Actually, that's one of the videos for
Colleagues,
Okay, we're gonna let it load and then run it.
And you'll display it on the screen.
Yeah, where have I heard that? Is this where they're starting their messing with?
This is the best, this 3-minute video is the best example of any pump in the country doing the right thing.
We're letting it load right now.
Yeah.
You did find it though, correct?
We did find it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's,
But I'll repeat myself. This was the best example of a politician in this country doing the right thing and showing ethics.
is he still in office?
Is he still above ground? I don't know.
Yeah.
We're gonna try it
You're
here.
looking at the books, you're looking at the grass.
Yeah, when you click to play it,
As you know, the
full screen mode. Hit full screen mode.
Full screen.
Republicans put out a back to basics budget, and that budget includes the use of $500 million in available ending fund balances. For those familiar with business lingo and financial statements, that is essentially Oregon's cash on hand. Many people have expressed doubt about this number, and I want to provide a great deal of clarity to it today. I will email this document to you, which looks like this.
Yeah, really.
Simply said, this is the comprehensive annual financial report, fiscal year ended June 30th, 2008. On page 12 of that very document, which was released by the governor's office, you will find the following. On June 30th, 2008, the state's governmental funds reported combined ending fund balances of $4.9 billion. Of this amount, 71.5% is available for spending at the state's discretion. Unreserved, undesignated fund balance. Again, of the $4.9 billion, 71.5% is available for spending at the state's discretion, unreserved, undesignated fund balance. 71.5% of $4.9 billion equates to just over $3.5 billion. $3.5 billion available, unreserved, undesignated, and that's according to DAS. That money is available for spending at the state's discretion and is part of that unreserved, undesignated fund balance. Keep in mind, again, you will receive this document from me. It should put real clarity to the point. The $500 million we are using is only a small portion of the $3.5 billion available. Colleagues, I hope you will all keep this in mind as we consider massive tax increases or small tax increases that will soon be coming before this body. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
How about sending money back?
So, yeah.
You can close out the video.
Hey, so did you help him or what?
No, it's up on my YouTube channel. That's probably why I'm showing up there.
Yeah, no, but he,
Well, yeah, I helped you do. Now, I put that video up on, I talked to Jeff Renz, he put it up on Sightings, which got probably about 25,000 views. I sent it out to everybody on the CAFR national email list, and they sent it out to everybody else, which probably generated another 15,000 views. You know what the hit counter said? 2,800 views. It stayed at 2,800 views for, I think, 4 years.
lie.
See,
You know, but now what he was holding up was the cover page for the CAFR. You know, he wasn't holding up the report.
No,
But to summarize, you know, there's only 500 million available to spend, and we're going to have to raise taxes. Well, in reality, there was $3.5 billion. And the House was being told a lie. You know? So, you know, this is how deep this is entrenched. I mean, but if you watch that video, the guy that was sitting in front of him,
yes.
he was aware of it. You could see him cringing down in his chair, dropping his head, saying, "Damn, he's breaking the silence is golden rule. The shit's gonna hit the fan." You know, and the older guy in the back, you know, he goes, interesting information. We take note.
Right in the back.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so, you know, depending upon who the player is, you know, they're either 100% aware of it or not. I mean, I was in Prescott, Arizona for about 10 years, and they had a little breakfast club meeting on Sundays, run by a guy by the name of Tom Strom, who, you know, was a radio show host. And I found out later he was in bed with politicians, but they had brought in all the county board of supervisors, you know, right before election, and ex-Governor Meekum. And Governor Meekum was up first, and, you know, after he got done talking, question and answer time, I'm there raising my hand, ooh, you know, and, you know, she made the mistake of calling on me, and I said, "Governor Meekum, did you ever hear of the State of Arizona Comprehensive Annual Financial Report?" He goes, "No, never heard of it."
No, never heard.
And I said, "Are you sure you never heard of the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report for the State of Arizona?" "No, never heard of it." And then I had 94's copy in front of me. I said, "Oh, by the way, here's the one you signed when you were in office."
Yeah.
Oh, let me see that.
Oh,
And I bring it up to him, and he kind of flicks through the pages and so forth, and he goes, and quote for quote, just quote for quote, he goes, "Oh yeah, I'm familiar with this report. I thought you were talking about another year."
Right.
You know, but, you know, so, got him. The incumbent county board of supervisor got up by the name of Feldmeyer, and his little spiel started off with, "Well, as we all know, the roads are terrible in Yavapai County, and we need to raise taxes to improve the roads." Right? Was the summary of his little speech. And came down to question and answer time. You know, he was a little hesitant. I was second person, you know, he called on. And I said, "Mr. Feldmeyer, are you familiar with the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, State of Arizona?" He goes, "Nope." And I said, "So I guess you don't know about the Capital Projects Road Development Trust Fund?" He goes, "No." I said, "That was a fund that was set up for distribution of funds to the counties to improve roads, which just happens to be the second largest fund in Arizona with about $8.9 billion in it. You know, second largest to the pension funds. And, you know, more than enough money to improve the roads." Well, 3 months, all of a sudden, all the roads in Yavapai County are being improved. The transportation department's now driving around with brand new, $250,000 trucks, and, you know, they did the roads, and they did all of the landscaping, and, you know, it was real nice, you know, they did. Without one tax increase, so I checked into it, they accessed the fund for $350 million.
Wow.
You spent $350 million. That's cool.
It looked nice there for that, though. But the bottom line is that fund was there, for them to access at any time. Now, could you imagine if they, had a tax increase to improve the roads and then access the fund? That's the game. They don't.
That
They
is
just
probably
don't.
what they have done.
And they transfer their properties, $1 million properties to this shell company, figuring now they won't be able to be identified. They always make the exact same mistake.
What is that?
They transfer the properties under a quiet claim deed, okay, without any payments. If you have $1 million property, you transfer it to any organization, any company. Where's the payment of the $1 million?
Isn't that fraud?
Yeah, they never get it. They never, because they're just doing it to mask their own identities, and they never, transact by, sending money to themselves for payment of a valuable property. So that's a catch which hangs them all. It shows that they were intentionally trying to circumvent the disclosure.
So what you're recommending is research on each and every individual.
Every individual, and most of them are doing the real estate game. 8 out of 10 are making a few extra million by using their internal. That county board supervisor Feldmeyer that I mentioned at that one meeting, he came in with a disclosed net worth of $115,000. After 4 years, his disclosed net worth was $13 million.
He did good.
Yeah.
He did it online, swindles and pressures. He had one farmer owned 600 acres he wanted to buy in downtown Prescott Valley. He knew the rancher would go out and drink at the local bar, which was about 2/3 of a mile down out of his front gateway. They pulled him over, extreme DUI, and they told him, hey, you can do 5 years in prison. The guy, he's an old timer. You can do 5 years in prison on this DUI, or you can sell us that land that we want to buy for. We offered you $75 an acre. We'll move it up to $85, and maybe you just may get probation. They delayed his trial for 6 months until he signed the transfer of the property for $185,000. He actually went for $215 an acre. And Feldmeyer made about $3 million on that deal.
Yeah.
But when Feldmeyer opted out of being a county board supervisor, he gets himself a state job. He got himself appointed to.
We're finding,
Auditor.
The director of land management for the Department of Transportation. He was the one who determined what lands they were going to buy or not buy
Surprise.
in the state of Arizona.
Walter,
Go figure.
Walter, we just found nasty foreclosure fraud in King County and Multnomah County, and this may intersect with what you're saying, but I'll talk to you about it later. But it's massive.
Yeah.
And the government is suppressing it.
On that issue.
The government is suppressing it.
I noticed right after the 2008 bubble burst, on the pension funds, which are easy to see what their listings or investments are. All of a sudden, I started seeing names of funds start up: Residential Property Stabilization Fund, Commercial Property Stabilization Fund. What they were doing was buying up all of the properties that were getting foreclosed on at 10 cents on the dollar and putting it in the fund and renting them out or holding them for sale. So when you have the government profiting from all these foreclosures and judges ruling on whether or not the person is to get kicked out of their house or not, there's a slight tad bit of conflict of interest there.
I just saw a link here to what I discovered.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Very good.
Now keep in mind the judges in Washington have their own retirement fund. It's a Judges of Washington System Retirement Fund. If you looked into that fund and saw that they had different funds established, because they all invest in different proprietary funds. If they had a major fund in there that moved several thousand properties through it that were foreclosed on, which they made a phenomenal profit from, and they were ruling cases, every one of those cases they were on are invalid. It's conflict of interest.
Absolutely. So we know that this is going on. So the part that we have to do is more serious investigation of these individuals, do we pick the most guilty one, or do we get the one that's just starting out? Which would be the...
Usually the guilty one is associated with 4 or 5 cooperatives.
It's for sure.
You may have, if it's a judge, you may have the prosecutor, you may have 2 other judges involved, the city attorney, county attorney. Yeah, try to focus on what the network is, who's doing what, who's protecting who's asked, to make sure that there's no consequence. Government's motto for the last 50 years has been no consequence, no problem.
Right.
They've been operating.
So what we're looking at, let me see if I have this straight. If we concentrate on making, publicly bringing it up in public meetings at the commissioners, at the school board.
They hate that.
We know that.
They squirm in their seats.
I know. And if we have 3 or 4 people at the same commissioner's office bring up that information, and then we obviously go to the town councils here, and we continue.
Right, and it's essential to bring it up in a clear and comprehensive fashion. No rattling, no rambling, no,
Read to a script,
no
in other
script.
words. Okay, read to a script. And then in addition to that going on, now we're getting public awareness, and it puts a chill factor in, and then we pick out 1 or 2 that we can investigate thoroughly, and then start going after them. Not necessarily at the very...
And very important, okay, when you establish fraud, and it's brought to the attention of the appropriate authorities,
Okay.
it's mandatory, especially if there's public funds involved or public property, that they freeze or seize those assets.
Perfect.
Until determination is done. And it's very important to be creative on looking at all aspects of where you can be effective. And don't do the shotgun approach, but do the sniper approach on each.
Right.
So
So essentially, what we bring forward paperwork to the authority that can control. Well, we're talking about the auditor right now, bringing stuff to the county auditor, the state auditor, for the different corruptions. At the same time,
and I'll tell you something, but don't mention I said it.
Okay.
When you approach the auditor, any official report, say for example there was like 15 million in fraud taking place in the county, and it involved overpayments, whatever, and a suit, a lawsuit being filed against the county for damages or return of the funds, whatever.
Right.
If it's valid and you notify the auditor, it's mandatory that local government disclose that in their note section of their annual financial report, because it's a liability. It's a liability to the local government.
So essentially, that once we bring forward this charge, we identify it to the auditor must put it into his report.
Yeah, and also the local government that's committing the fraud, where they may have liability, 25 million, and whatever misappropriated funds, 5 million in legal costs defending themselves against a lawsuit. They have to disclose that in the comprehensive annual financial report, in the notes section, giving the specifics of what the liability is. Yeah, John walked off with 25 million, and they're holding us accountable. Yeah.
Okay. So there's
may be a liability next year.
Those are excellent tools. All right. Any other questions?
That's it.
Are we good?
Yeah.
So the
Walter?
next time, Walter,
Yeah.
don't lose your phone number, we'll come back.
But we didn't get to the Port Authority.
You guys, you want to go over the Port Authority? Sure. Let's do the Port Authority, and let's be a little specific here, because I'm telling you, these people, it's Friday night, they've had a long work day, and I think we're all very...
You mean you didn't tell them about the disco party after this?
You're invited, Walter, you're invited, you know that.
Only the Angel Flight suits.
Okay, let's talk about the port.
Now, I do know that the last 2 times I tried to open up the Port Authority's CAFR,
Yeah.
that's when my sound dropped out.
Okay. Well, now that we have sound.
I'm clicking on it right now.
Okay, yeah, we've got page 22.
That's the third time there's a pattern.
22,
Port Authority.
we want 22, 23, 24, so start at Port Authority 22. Port of Seattle, yeah.
Did we lose you again?
Walter?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, we're on page 22.
It's a little less suspicious.
I'm kidding.
Because I was a Port of Tacoma that won a $12 million suit against Thurston County for breach of due process 2 years ago now.
Where did that combination?
And if the auditor was noted of that, it would be mandatory that it listed in the annual financial report.
No, that's right, it wasn't in the annual financial
No,
report.
but it won't be until.
That's because no one noticed it.
Should have been
Wait, that should be in
2015.
13.
It should be in 2015.
It was 17, no,
It
took
was?
over in
No,
12.
they're appealing it, I heard. Anyway.
Okay, so
never
we're on
mind.
page 22.
We're on page 22.
I'll just keep it simple. As I mentioned, the numbers are in thousands, so it lists,
Okay.
the total, and, the total at the end, $6,624,269,000. What's each listed?
Right. Okay, now we
What's
go.
the next page?
All right.
23.
Well, 23, by the way, there's duplicate copies here, I apologize again. Let's go to
Okay,
20, go to 24, page 24.
Okay. 24. Then it breaks down their income basically here. Property rentals, $342 million. Services, $190 million. Keep in mind these are in thousands. Total operating revenues for the year, $554,978,000. And how effectively, the population can take control or retake control of government. For the last, I would say, 50 years, government has been running as a runaway corporate for-profit enterprise, with the public being the food for that enterprise. The key factor is for government to accomplish the growth and do what they did, they had to keep the public masterfully entertained, effectively off the la la land. The growth factor in government, it's very easy to see if you ask yourself very basic questions. In other words, what was the budget of our city, county, state school district 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, to see the increase in the take. Now, I've done this over and over again, and the average in the last 25 years has been an increase of 15 to 1. Again, and the average in the last 25 years has been an increase of 15 to 1. The population's income maybe doubled. Government's income, has been by about a factor of 15 to 1. It's unacceptable. We're masterfully entertained off in the la la land in right field as government conducts business as usual in left field. And what makes it worse, the majority of government now is run by attorneys. Most of the elected senators, congressmen, governors, they're all attorneys. Most people are voting, they don't even realize they're voting for an attorney. And by the way, no smoking in the theater. But
Picture that.
so, for government to do this, to be able to grow and take it all over by investment right under the public's nose, they did through a masterful corporate tactic. In 1946, government started going under the annual financial reporting accounting structure, just like Apple, IBM, AT&T, Microsoft, financial reports, ownership, investment ownership, cash wealth, expansion of enterprise operations that were generating hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars a year. And the public was sitting there, it's kind of like the Catholic Church. The Bible for the Catholic Church is what the annual financial report is for government. Could you imagine being a Christian all of your lifetime and the Catholic Church never mentioned the Bible? Yeah, and say, for example, I came up to you and I said, have you read the Bible? And you replied back, Bible? What's that? You went, no, because the Catholic Church never mentioned it. But, the Catholic Church didn't have a reason to hold back the Bible, so they promoted it and generated revenue for them. Contributions. The government had a motive to hold back the annual financial report, and it is their holy grail of accounting. But in the equivalent nature of things, it's identical as if the Catholic Church has held back, their Bible. So, as the growth took place within the annual financial reporting accounting structure, come 1978, 77, it became the standard for all local governments, cities, counties, states, school districts, and so forth. Pension funds put out a CAFR, the enterprise operations put out a CAFR. You can have sometimes a county putting out a CAFR, they put out an annual financial statement, but you'll have the school district in the county putting out a comprehensive annual financial report. So the bottom line is the public was held close to the key financial structure of government as it grew and expanded. They didn't have an idea, they didn't have a clue. And I just used the expression, the public was kept off in la-la land. As the boys continued business as usual, with not a peep, not a mention, not a word. And even to this date, the syndicated media controlled education, both political parties, not a peep, not a mention, not a word of the comprehensive annual financial report. And most of them, when you mention it, they act like, the deer in the headlights syndrome.
Right.
And what's that? Does that have something to do with government? And as that grew, they were able to perform a selectively created budget report, which showed primarily where tax income was brought in and tax income was expended. And the population, got it in their mind that government was their budget report. They would go over the budget reports with a fine-tooth comb. Yeah, they have this amount of money allocated. Yeah, and they spent $5 million more. What are they, a bunch of idiots? As at the same time, in reality, government was promoting to the population the selectively created budget report and holding back their annual financial report. And to be very clear on what an annual financial report is, it's the statement of net worth. For example, yourself as a individual, you had a budget report for your house, your expenditures for the year, and your statement of net worth. There's a big difference between the two. So with the government constantly promoting budget reports, and holding back their annual financial reports, it gave them the ability to expand within the annual and how effectively the population can take control or retake control of government. For the last, I would say, 50 years, government has been running as a runaway corporate for-profit enterprise, with the public being the food for that enterprise. The key factor is for government to accomplish the growth and do what they did, they had to keep the public masterfully entertained, effectively off in la-la land. The growth factor in government, it's very easy to see if you ask yourself very basic questions. In other words, what was the budget of our city, county, state, school district 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, to see the increase in the take. And I've done this over and over